Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking into the Outlaw Gangster Disciples. We've got this document. It goes into quite a bit of detail, and our goal really is to get a handle on, where they came from, what they do, and just how big this organization got.
Mhm.
And here's something right off the bat. Apparently, they formed inside a specific Chicago housing project, Cabrini Green, I think,
Now,
back in the early 90s.
yeah, that's right. The document is quite specific. Cabrini Green Homes, early 90s, and founded by Charles Big Chuck Dorsey.
Okay.
And he was already a board member for the main Gangster Disciples, so it was sort of intentional, not just a random offshoot.
So, like, sanctioned from within, almost.
Seems that way initially,
Mhm.
and it started there, but then expanded, particularly to the south side of Chicago.
Okay, so specific origins, but then they grew. What does the document say about their size? Like, how big are we talking?
Well, the estimate from 2009 was pretty substantial, somewhere between 25,000 and 50,000 members.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
It really is. And their reach wasn't just Chicago. The document mentioned something pretty striking. Their presence documented within the U.S. military.
In the military. Seriously.
Yeah, apparently graffiti linked to the Gangster Disciples, which could include this subset, has reportedly been found on U.S. military bases, even overseas in places like Iraq and Afghanistan.
That's kind of mind-blowing. How does that even happen? Does the document explain that?
It doesn't really detail how, the recruitment mechanics within the military,
Hmm.
but just the fact it's documented really makes you think about how these social ties can spread into very different environments.
Definitely. So, beyond just their reach and numbers, what about their actual activities? What does the source list?
The document is pretty blunt. It lists the main criminal activities as drug trafficking, robbery, extortion, and even murder.
Okay, so serious criminal enterprise.
Exactly.
And like most gangs, they have allies and enemies, right?
Yeah.
The document touches on that.
Oh, yeah, it lays out a pretty complex web. They're aligned with the folk nation.
Right, the big umbrella group for the Gangster Disciples.
Precisely. So that puts them alongside allies like the Crips, Zoe Pound Gang, the Black Guerrilla family, Black Mafia family. Quite a list.
And rivals.
Their main rivals fall under the People Nation banner. So groups like the Black Disciples, a key rival. But also, interestingly, the document lists the Ku Klux Klan and WPU, White Power United.
That's what a mix of rivals. Folk versus People Nation is the core conflict there, it seems.
It is. That's the major dividing line in that Chicago gang landscape, and it extends outwards.
So how do they, signal these alliances and rivalries? You often hear about gang signs and symbols. Does the document mention their system?
It does. They use a defined system of symbols, kind of like a visual code. It communicates who they're allied with using Gangster Disciple Nation and Folk Nation symbols.
Okay.
And critically, they show disrespect to rivals by inverting their symbols.
Ah, okay. So if a rival uses, say, an upright pitchfork.
Exactly. The outlaw gangster disciples might show it upside down in their graffiti or tattoos. It's a clear message. This visual communication is really key to their identity and how they navigate those complex relationships.
Right. So wrapping this up a bit, they started very specifically in a Chicago housing project, early 90s, founded by a GD board member,
Hmm.
grew to have potentially tens of thousands of members, even showing up somehow in the U.S. military.
Yeah, that's a key point.
Involved in heavy criminal activities like drug trafficking and murder. And they operate within this whole folk versus people nation structure using specific symbols to communicate.
That sums it up pretty well. It shows how these groups, even operating outside the law, create these really sophisticated structures for organization and communication.
And how those structures can sometimes bleed into places you'd least expect.
Absolutely. It makes you consider how deep these social affiliations can run and how they manifest even within highly structured institutions like the military. Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for digging into this with me.